If you're not aware of who Scott Israel is, I'm going to give you a brief little summary of who this guy actually is. Now, Scott Israel is a former Florida sheriff. He's the most recent Florida sheriff. Apparently, he's no longer Florida sheriff. But this man, he was responsible for what happened during the Parkland shooting. Now, if you're not aware of the Parkland shooting, essentially, the suspect, in this case the shooter, had many red flags already on, like, literally, like, pointed out. Apparently, he had criminal instances. He had a criminal record. I think I could be wrong, but the cops had literally visited this kid's home 39 times to be exact, because the kid had a very violent, demeanor. He apparently had brought a lot of knives to school, a lot of weapons to school already. He apparently he had assaulted his parents and other individuals as well. So despite all the red flags, despite everything that this kid had already done, right? He was 18 at the time, but he was still in high school. Despite all of this, the sheriff said, "I don't see a problem with this. Oh, we did not see this coming. How could this have taken place?" That's why he was suspended by the governor. In this case, it was Governor DeSantis at the time. Because despite all the red flags that this kid was showing, despite all the problems he was already causing the school, the sheriff's department, in this case, this guy, Scott Israel, said, "I don't see a problem with this." Or even then he said, "How did I not see this coming? It's a surprise to me." But worst of all is, apparently under this guy's leadership, officers are not mandated to confront shooters, right? It's not a mandated thing. It's optional. Well, under this guy's leadership, his officers at the time who were near the school, they didn't even confront the shooter. In fact, they were hiding like a bunch of cowards. And the worst part is that after the shooting, this guy, Scott Israel, pushed for gun control legislation. This guy is a piece of shit. And this is before I was even a conservative. I was mad at this guy not because he was pushing gun control, but because this guy refused to take the blame for something that he could have prevented. But instead, he said, "It's not my fault. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on." This is why this guy is the worst of the worst, and I'm glad. I'm glad that he lost his bid for re-election. This guy should never be trusted with your safety, right? You should never trust this guy with your safety. I would never trust this guy with my safety. In fact, and I'll be more specific, I would be more comfortable trusting the devil himself to protect me than this piece of shit. Now get it. You can say, "Oh, Carlos, calm down. You're cursing a lot." I get it, man. I get it. But here's the thing. Nothing pisses me. Nothing pisses me off more than a person who knows they're at fault but doesn't want to accept the blame. And this guy, I do not like this guy. But let's read the story. Ex-Florida Sheriff Scott Israel, suspended over handling of Parkland shooting, loses bid for re-election. Here, man. If I drank alcohol, I would literally hold up a glass and say, to this piece of to the loss of this piece of shit, Scott Israel. But I don't drink alcohol. I don't even smoke. I just drink a lot of soda. But I don't drink. Honest, I don't drink alcohol. But anyways, going. Former Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel lost a primary bid to reclaim his office on Tuesday after Governor Ron DeSantis suspended him in January of 2019. Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney declared victory in the Democratic contest, edging out Israel by about 4,000 votes in the six-candidate primary, according to WPTV. DeSantis appointed Toney, to head the sheriff's office after suspending Israel over failures related to the February 2018 mass shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. "I am deeply honored that the Democratic voters have chosen me to lead the Broward Sheriff's Office into a brighter, safer future," Toney said in a statement. "We've come a long way in the last 18 months, but there's still much work to be done. Together, we're reforming the Sheriff's Office, promoting good deputies, and keeping our community safer by embracing police reform. As your sheriff, I will work tirelessly to make this department a model for how a public safety agency can be effective, transparent, and accountable for our community. Let's keep moving forward." Man, I like how Toney sounds. Now, I must ask them, is Toney a gun control advocate? Because that I might disagree with. But if he vows to make his area safe, I can get behind that. But Scott Israel, man, that guy, I just can't stand him. "The people have spoken, and I accept the decision of the voter," Israel said. "I want the community to know that I poured my heart and soul into being the sheriff of Broward County, and I fought hard to protect everyone's rights." Sure, man, sure. Because you did a very miserable job as a sheriff, now you're saying, "Oh, well, I did my best. I'm glad that I lost." Yeah, me too, man. I'm glad that you lost too, because I wouldn't trust you with my life anyway. But yeah, and I fought hard to protect everyone's rights. Yeah, by trying to take away the Second Amendment. I'm sorry, man, but you do not make effing sense at all. So Israel, hopefully you are lucky enough to be a police officer. I don't know if you're still a police officer, but look, hopefully people are not willing to trust you as much because you're going to be known as the guy who had all the signs, all the red flags of a guy who was unstable, who was a threat to his community, and you never thought once this guy could potentially hurt people. I'm gonna stop him right then and there. Nah, man. Instead, you knew all the red flags, and then when the tragedy happened, you said, "How could I not see this coming?" Spare me the nonsense, Israel. Anyways, let's go on. Sorry. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School students and relatives of other victims have spoken out vigorously against Israel throughout the election. Scott Israel's failures led to the death of my daughter. He bragged about his amazing leadership. He mocked my family and our fight for justice for years. But tonight, righteousness won over the wicked, tweeted Andrew Pollack, who lost a daughter in the 2018 shooting. Bravo, man. Bravo. This is why I did not like this guy. Not only did he do a very terrible job as a sheriff, I mean, he really did a terrible job, but when things got bad, when things were his own fault, he didn't take the blame. He blamed it on the NRA. He blamed it on the lack of gun control laws. He blamed it on all these other things, except himself. It's insane, man. But anyways, let's keep going. The Broward Sheriff's Office, the largest sheriff's office in Florida, has been mirrored in controversy stemming from Israel's handling of the Parkland shooting, which resulted in the death of 17 people and injuries to 17 others. Israel has been accused of contributing to the death toll by changing department policy to say deputies may instead of shall confront active shooters. And that is why I didn't like this guy when I heard about this. Again, this was before I was pro 2A. Now, I was pro 2A in the sense that if you want a gun, have it. I just don't want to own one. I don't feel comfortable owning a gun. But if you want one, go ahead and own it, right? But even again, but that was me. That was me when I was super pro 2A. I was pro 2A back then, but now I'm super pro 2A. But when I was pro 2A, I got mad at the guy, not because of the shooter, right? I wasn't advocating for gun control then. But I was mad at the guy for this specific policy. And like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, he literally put a department policy that's saying deputies may confront active shooters. It's an option, right? The deputy says, oh my God, there's someone shooting. Well, I don't want to die. I'm just going to sit back here and watch it all unfold. Instead of saying shall. That is what pissed me off. Because when I heard about that policy, I thought to myself, how many people would have literally, how many less people would have died? Or actually, I'll rephrase it. How many people could have been saved if the deputies were mandated to confront this dude? That to me was what pissed me off, and I literally wish Scott Israel the worst at that point. But anyways, let's go on. May give deputies the out to not enter, said Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, a member of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Commission in December of 2018. They decided to be cowards instead of heroes. I agree. Those deputies are pieces of shit as well, and they're no better than Scott Israel, man. And again, I support the cops, but these deputies are shit. Again, these deputies are the worst. In April of 2018, hundreds of Israel's own deputies turned on him as the Broward Sheriff's Office Deputies Association held a no-confidence vote that went overwhelmingly against the then sheriff, 534 votes to 94. That's how many people did not believe in this guy. 534 votes of no confidence. And this is the first time the union had voted no confidence in a sheriff, dude. That is just embarrassing. There's always a saying. It's always a good thing to be the first of anything. Right? Sorry. Actually, I don't even know if it's actual saying, but if it isn't, I'm going to say it. I live by this philosophy. It's always a good thing to be the first in some things, right? The first Hispanic president, the first Hispanic Supreme Court judge, etc., right? There's always a good thing in being the first. But the last thing you want to do is be the first in a bad thing. Now, Scott Israel, he was the first sheriff to be literally voted with no confidence. That is not something I want on my resume. But hey, this guy deserved it. Anyways, and this is one of the officers said. Israel fails to listen to the people, Union President Jeff Bell said after the vote. He fails to listen to the membership, and he wants to blame everybody else for his problems. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff Bell. And I agree with that 100%. There's a reason why I didn't like this guy. Not because he was advocating for gun control. Again, I was pro 2A then. But it was the fact that this guy had all the signs of this guy, this 18-year-old person, right? I'm not going to say kid, this 18-year-old. That was a threat to his community. Despite all the red flags, despite all the warning signs, Scott Israel said, I don't see a problem. What could go wrong? And then when the tragedy happens, it says, how could this have happened? We should have done better. Yes, we, I mean, actually, no, we, that sounds like, group talk. You should have done better. And what did Scott Israel do after his failure? Not only did he cover for his deputies, which eventually turned on him, but then he started blaming the NRA. He started advocating for gun control, even though all of this could have been prevented if this guy wasn't a terrible leader. Oh no, man. This guy deserves it. Scott Israel, hopefully you find a better job, man. In fact, hopefully you do not find a better job, because I will not trust you with my life. If you were looking for a job as private security and I was one of your clients, I would say, nah, man, I'm good. I do not want you for my safety. Because we all know what this is going to do. If he sucks at something, or if he fails to protect my life, he's going to say, well, it's not my fault because of gun control and we need more gun control laws. Nah, man, screw you. I hired you to protect me and you failed. Sorry, man, but you're fired. Bye-bye. Like I said, man, I would rather trust the devil with my safety than this guy. And that's saying something. But what do you guys think? Are you guys happy that Scott Israel is no longer the sheriff, of this area? Do you think he's no longer sheriff? Do you think he deserved to lose? Do you have confidence in the new Broward sheriff, Gregory Tony? Right? Are you confident in Gregory Tony? I think he can do a good job. Like I said, I don't know his stance on guns, but if he promises to do a much better job than Israel, I'll take what I can get, man. Definitely, Gregory Tony is a much better individual than Scott Israel. That's a fact. That's a fact. Here he looks like a guy who's capable of doing what he needs to be done. But I don't know, man. This guy, I do not wish this guy a good life. His actions led to the death of many innocent kids. Could he have prevented all of this? Definitely. And there's a lot of people who say, well, Carlos, even if the cops respond, you can't save everyone. Well, in this instance, you can't argue that. Because Scott Israel and his department literally saw all the red flags. Literally, the department visited this kid. And I say kid because he's 18, but even then, they visited this person's home on multiple occasions. More than 30 times, 39 times to be exact. And they saw no problem whatsoever. When this person was literally saying that he was going to shoot up a school, the sheriff said, I don't think he'll go through with it. And yet his criminal record is not a sign of that. I don't know, man. This guy deserves to lose. He deserves to lose. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, he never finds a job anywhere near law enforcement. Because this guy's unreliable. I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't trust him with my life. But what do you guys think? Do you think this guy deserves to lose? Actually, I'm going to ask a more open-ended question. What do you think of Scott Israel? Do you think he's a good sheriff? Do you think he's a bad sheriff? Do you think he could have prevented the Parkland shooting if he had actually been an effective sheriff? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, share this video, and we'll see you guys in a bit in regards to Covington kid, or in this case, Covington man, Nick Sandman. Apparently, he's going to be speaking at the RNC next week. And boy, this kid, man, I wish I could be this kid, man. Not in terms of being trashed by the media, but boy, I would like to speak at the RNC, man. And this kid is having his dreams come true. But that's awesome. I'll see you guys in a bit.